Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the conference. Just want to let you know in Bucharest, very nice day, a spring day, and I enjoy being with you. Hope you'll enjoy the presentation for today. So I received your answer. Thank you. My name is Ana Dumistracel. I'm working in Luxoft as a business analyst in an Agile-based project. And this is why I chosen this theme for today, testing in the Agile development environment. Based on my practical experience here and on readings and the studies I made. I will share my ideas with you, but I would also like to know about your experience. I suppose that many of you heard about Agile, many of you maybe even worked in Agile frameworks. So if you could share just a few ideas about you, how many years of experience do you have if you worked with any Agile development methodology? Just type in the chat box a number or an idea about you, about your experience. Okay, I receive your answer. So we have colleagues with 3-5 years of experience. Some people just starting it, 2, 3, 4 years, 1 month, 2 years. So this is great. Even beginners. The subjects that I will present to you, okay, are general topics, best practices. So I'll share the agenda for today. As I said, we'll go through a short overview of the Agile methodology with a focus on Scrum and Kanban. Then we'll discuss about the concept of definition of done, the tester roles and the skills and testing activities. Then I will go through some best practices specific to Agile, TDD, ATDD, we'll detail at that stage. I'll talk about continuous integration and finally about testing types and techniques. Please note down any comments or questions that you may have, and we'll discuss them at the end. If okay, I still receive information from you. Colleagues have knowledge in Scrum, that's great. Agile methods, software testing, ISTQB. Thank you. So let's begin with the overview of Agile. Mainly when we talk about Agile, we refer in fact to a set, an umbrella that brings together several methodologies that are focused mainly on teams working very closely together on collaboration between stakeholders, with a focus on delivering frequently real business value. And here I just mentioned a couple of methods, starting with lean development, dynamic software development methodology, crystal methods. All of these are incremental models. So lean development is a methodology inherited from manufacturing. You may know from Toyota manufacturing management model, which is focused on optimizing efficiency, minimizing waste. Dynamic software development model was very used in 90s. It is focused on aligning a project with some strategic goals in order to make sure that real business value is delivered within the project. This is focused also on collaboration. They use intensively facilitated workshops, iterative model development, of course, prioritization, Moscow method of prioritization, and time boxing. For crystal methods, this is a set of models that addresses different types of projects. So depending on the complexity of the project and let's say the size, there are different crystal methods to be applied. We may speak about crystal krill, crystal orange red, but also maroon or diamond, let's say. So for very easy or easier projects that are less complex and smaller, we can choose a lightweight method like Crystal Clear. But for very complex projects that involve many participants, high functional complexity and risks, there are other models like Crystal Maroon or Crystal Diamond to be used. Extreme programming, it's also a very popular methodology and also dates from the 90s with very deep focus on pair programming, on test-driven development, on unit testing and integration testing. And about Scrum and Kanban, we'll take a deeper look to see how they work. So Scrum is, I will start with this. They work very well together, just to mention. Scrum is this framework where the team are self-organized and aim at solving complex tasks, let's say, in as fast as possible to deliver quality by finding maybe creative solutions in a rapid way. The activity is split in sprints. Then we can have sprints from 1 week to 4 weeks length. And it is marked by several ceremonies or events. We have daily scrums. If the team is very big, we have Scrum of Scrums meeting, sprint plannings, estimation plannings, sprint reviews, demo sessions. All of these are prescribed in Scrum, so these are clear recommendations. Also, we base our activity on artifacts. We speak here about a product backlog, a sprint backlog, about increments. So this is the main points about Scrum. Regarding Kanban, it's also a lightweight methodology that is mainly based on visualizing the workflow. So the whole workflow is split into its main activities, and the work items that go through the workflow with the mention here that at each stage we have a work in progress limit. And this is very important in Kanban because if this limit is reached, then the whole team should focus on solving those issues before adding more work items in the workflow. Both methods are are agile, are centered on self-organizing team. The work is split in both methods in smaller items, and we use our experience to improve the process and to improve the planning. While in Kanban we use lead time as an indicator to optimize the planning. In Scrum we have another indicator, velocity. Of course, there are differences also, Scrum versus Kanban. You may have noticed that in Scrum we have more rules, it's more prescriptive. Starting from the team itself, we have several roles here prescribed, like product owner, development team, Scrum master. But also the ceremonies are prescribed, the artifacts are very clear. The fact that the team commits to a certain amount of work to be done within a sprint, and we can't change that content in the sprint. Also, the backlog, the sprint backlog is assigned to a certain team, while in Kanban the tasks are prioritized, and the development team can pick up the most the highest the task with the highest value from the backlog. So there is no assignment per team for the backlog. Other differences may result from the organization of the activity. So in the Scrum, we have sprints of a limited time interval. So these are some similarities, but also differences. In the end, what I want to point out is that, of course, we wonder where does testing fits into these processes. And we will see along the presentation that, in fact, testing is a continuous process, and it's an intrinsic activity of the team. It is not a duty of a particular member of the team or a group of people, but it's an activity that is shared as interest and a participation by all team members in an agile environment. Definition of done, I would like to continue with this because it's a core concept in Agile. The main goal, in fact, is to have the job done, whatever this is about, even if it's about developing a feature or building an entire product or having a release. So the ultimate goal is to have the job done, and here we can have different opinions about what this means. Do we talk about completing development? Do we talk about having the test completed? Or it's about really deploying the release? And in order to accommodate all these expectations, we have the definition of done as a set of criteria agreed by the team, by all the stakeholders, including here also representatives from the business side or from the client side, on what are the activities to be completed before a product item is considered done. And the fact that these criteria are discussed, are agreed inside the team, and they are then are prominently are displayed, they are made public and well known to everybody, they will act as a contract. So this way we mitigate the risk of having misunderstandings at the end of a process. What I want to highlight still is that once this agreement is made, it is not static list that just need to be saved somewhere and forgotten, but it's a permanently updated list, and it's a real instrument, a real tool to be used, and that should reflect reality. So we update it, we keep track of it, and we use it also as a reporting mechanism. Definitions of done can be built for various artifacts. So we can have definition of done for requirements, but also for tests themselves, or for let's say a product. Speaking about the level of the definition of done, this can be defined either at feature level or for a set of features or for a release. I will just list some activities that could be part of a definition of done for a feature. So we can speak about code implemented. We can expect to have code review done. We can expect to have unit tests performed, also integration tests performed, test coverage above a certain limit. So we can include, of course, benchmarks, indicators for test coverage with different levels. We should also maybe have documentation updated. What is important here and particular to Agile teams is that the team decides regarding the testing. If we focus only on the testing part, the team will decide at which level are these tests performed. So this is a common decision and a common discussion about what kind of tests are to be done. Do we need unit tests? Do we have integration tests? Do we need also acceptance tests or various indicators to be achieved? Also, the team decides on the type of the test, manual or automatic, functional, non-functional. This is an open discussion. also about the techniques, either if it's white box, black box, or static testing, maybe for code review or for documentation reviews. And maybe not in the last part, the team also decides who will perform the testing activities. So basically, the definition of done ensures this common understanding of what quality means. And always, testing is always part of it. So we can't discuss about having a story completed if it is not tested. So based on this expectations, let's see what are the tester roles and skills that should be present and needed inside the team. Starting from a non-agile perspective, we maybe have noticed that the roles and skills were mapped, in fact, to those main activities that defined testing in a non-agile world, meaning test planning, test analysis and design, test implementation and execution, reporting. So the tester skills should map on these activities. And these are still needed, of course. There is still an expectation for the tester in an agile project to have these skills. But additionally, given its role, we expect to have other skills, let's say soft skills. And these refer mostly to communication and interpersonal skills. So the tester will be part of the development team, an equal partner. They will communicate directly with developers, with business analysts, with product owners. They need to be able to understand various languages, more technical or more business oriented, and also to have the capacity to participate in meetings, to raise questions, to propose enhancements, even either for the product or for the process. And also, I would add here an interactive skill. The tester in an agile project has a more challenging role because they don't just wait for the work to come to them. It's not a passive role and limited in terms of responsibilities, but they have what we expect for them to engage the other team members, to even challenge, to bring them or bring issues up to the interest of the team in order to unblock certain situation or to contribute to the value of the project. Of course, returning to the technical skills, there is an expectation for the tester to have a more diversified portfolio of technical skills, especially because of these strong ties with both developers on one side and business analysts maybe on the other side. The tester can contribute on either way. They can help business analysts maybe refining some user stories or updating some documentation or proposing enhancements for the product through their experiences in testing that product. Or they can help the development side by I don't know, working in pairs with them for defining unit tests, by fixing maybe some coding issues. So they need a more diverse panel of technical skills. Detect ambiguity. I noted this here because this is really a very valuable skill that a tester can bring to a project team. Given that the tester will participate in a session of story grooming or even in estimation sessions, or they will always look at the requirement, at the story, with an eye bias towards the scenarios. So if in case there are ambiguous details or unclear things, they can raise these points very early in the process, thus saving a lot of time, effort, or money in the end. Also, besides this tendency maybe to look into details and to always think in terms of tests or test scenarios, they also need to be able to keep a big picture of the project, to be able to prioritize, and be able to make changes easily in their priorities even. And I noted again that the automation skills are highly valuable. We will see some best practices, as I mentioned, like test-driven development or behavior-driven development, where automation skills are the base, and the tester can contribute a lot to the overall value of the product by having this knowledge. In fact, what I highlighted here is that in the Agile project, the tester is challenged to step out of its comfort zone of just testing and to be an active equal partner to all the other team members. And they actually help by applying all these know-how and skills. They help achieve the team achieving those definition of done criteria previously discussed and agreed upon. So what will a tester do with all this set of complex skills? Of course, the testing activities also include some common activities common to other software development models. And here we talk about automation, scheduling the testing within the continuous integration system, reviewing reports, reporting issues, executing non-functional testing or manual testing, if it was so agreed with product owners or business analysts, running regression tests. In addition to this, there are some specific activities to Agile. And if we focus on Scrum, we'll expect the tester to join all the meetings, starting with the daily meetings, the scrums, where they discuss what was done, what needs to be done for the current day, what are the blocking issues, to make proposal about how to deal with some backlog issues or things that are in progress at a certain point in time or are in have troubles with. They can even make proposal to move them to another sprint or ask for involvement from other team members in solving some points. They are great support for developers in building the unit test, because this also requires some specific know-how. Of course, valuable feedback is received from testers in the retrospective meetings. Feedback which is related to product quality, but also to the quality of the processes. So the tester can bring up proposals of enhancing a functionality or enhancing the testing framework. And these are discussed, of course, with business analysts or product owners or other team members. Participating in all the other teams that are specific maybe to Scrum, estimation, planning, and very important demo sessions. So in Agile, we won't focus that much on writing tests or having very large volume of described tests, written tests, but more on communicating efficiently some results, some behavior, some functionalities. And demos are a very good and consistently used method to show the results, actually to show them. Okay. Among this list of activities that is quite comprehensive and large, there may be situation when maybe I don't know, some blocking points may arise because the workload can be at a certain point in time too large maybe, and we lack some testing resources. The framework uh, offers this flexibility to adjust in these situations because we can reallocate, we can reprioritize, or other team members can take over some activities. So this is not uh, always about testers, but it's a list of activities addressed to the team. Also, there can be situations when we can have maybe too much manual testing. In this case, of course, we need to focus and turn to automating more unit tests to have a larger unit test coverage. There can be situations when the product is maybe unstable. This is an iterative model. The product, of course, will be not fully testable at the beginning, or there can be moments when its testability maybe it's unstable. And the framework here offers this flexibility to add maybe sprints special, especially for stabilizing the product and before moving on to adding more functionality. So these are maybe some situations that can be dealt with within on an agile framework. Okay, so we went really fast through this overview of the agile with the focus on Scrum and Kanban. We talked about the definition of done with the particularities of each type of definition of done. We went through the tester roles and skills sets and the testing activities. Now I will start with details about some best practices in agile projects that we also use: test-driven development, acceptance test-driven development, and continuous integration. Firstly, let's talk about test-driven development. This can be seen both as a mean to describe requirements, or can be seen also a mean to design a product. Basically, what is it about? It's programming technique that starts with writing tests. So these tests are written by programmers for a very small piece of functionality before starting coding. Then the code, the test is run. Of course, it will fail firstly, and then the code is written and refactored to be as simple as possible. And then the test is rerun. And this process repeats for adding on step by step pieces of functionality. The focus here is on building a testable product that in time enhances the confidence in making changes in the product, because changes are made permanently, and there is a need of making the changes fast and with minimum risks. Also, it ensures that issues can be found very easily, adding functionality step by step in small chunks. The second approach is about acceptance test-driven development, also found as behavior-driven development in literature. And here the focus is on starting from a more behavioral level. The acceptance test is written first in a business language, in a language easy to be understood by non-functional people. The test will be run. The process is similar. The code will be written afterwards in order to fulfill the acceptance test, and the test will be rerun until it is passed. We'll see in these processes that the tests are at the core of the approaches, and also that different team members are involved in these processes. So the programmers will write the unit tests here, will write the code. The testers can support them, can work together in writing the tests. And in acceptance test-driven development, the business analysts are expected to write the initial acceptance test. The benefits are, as I said, maybe very transparent. It is easy to write in a code in small pieces. It is ensuring maybe on long term a testability, a confidence that changes can be made. But on the other hand, there are some limitations and risks that some will pinpoint. Even starting from the first stage, we can figure out, we can imagine that the code will be only as good as the tests are. So if the tests are incorrect at some point, then the whole process goes wrong. And this can be mitigated by involving business analysts, business side in having a second look and confirming the tests that are made in the first place. Also, it requires the developers to have some testing skills, which also here the role of the tester is again very prominent because they can help on this side. There is a learning curve, and this is very stressed by specialists. There is a learning curve. When adopting these approaches, the whole team should agree on and should implement, because there at the beginning it will be a slowdown in the development for a temporary period. Both processes can work very well together, can be combined. And here I have an excerpt from an essay on this. On the left side, we can see that the whole process starts with writing an acceptance test. So functionality is expressed in business terms. Then this test will be run. It will fail, of course, and code should be implemented. At this stage, the developer steps to the test-driven development flow, writing his own unit test. I repeat here that it's about developer unit tests. He can write these tests in a very technical language. These are not needed to be understood by the business side necessarily, but they help the developer, in fact, to implement the needed code. And he will follow the flow as explained. The test will be run, the code will be added on, and the test will be rerun. For each acceptance test or behavioral description, we can have one or multiple unit tests in test-driven development section. And when all of these are implemented, then the initial acceptance test is rerun. And once it passes, then the next piece of functionality can be addressed. I have here a statistic from 2014 that was interesting to me, and I wanted to share with you only to underline the fact that even though these approaches involve testing, and testing also performed by or created by developers, still there is a need of specialized testers and there is a need of independent testing. So this survey was made on teams that implemented test-driven development, and shows that 60% of them had testers embedded in the team, 40% of them still performed end-of-life cycle testing, and a third of them had parallel independent testing. So these approaches do not eliminate the need of additional testing, independent testing, and specialized testers, in fact. The last part in this section about best practices is about continuous integration. And I just have here a short description of Martin Fowler, one of the fathers of the Agile. He explains very how practical what is about. So this is, continuous integration refers mainly to integrating code very frequently, daily, he says, and in triggering an automated build with automated test suites. This way, integration errors are found quickly and are solved very early in the process. The whole thing goes as follows. Code is committed often. Then the automated build is started. This will include automated test suites, unit tests, integration tests. Then versioning is done automatically with specialized tools. Deployable artifacts are created, and communication to the team is ensured via email, for example, on automatic emails about build status. In case there are errors, this will be a priority for the team to fix the broken build. The main benefit, of course, here is the fact that we have the possibility to detect integration bugs very early in the process. So this is the main idea and the main benefit. In the long term, it increases productivity. There is no so much time spent on hunting bugs or on making, I don't know, long sessions of debugging. The developers themselves have a confidence when committing changes. Especially if this process is triggered, for example, before committing to main development branches. In case the process fails on a development branch, then they have the option not to commit further. Some main principles and practices regarding continuous integration that are not mainly necessarily related to testing, but influence the testing. So maintaining a single source repository needed, committing code frequently, as said, having an automated build, which is self-testing, and every commit should be built on an integration machine. There are different technologies here. We need to keep the build fast, so this need to support the development process, not to block it by having a too long process. The testing, of course, is recommended to be done in a clone of the production environment or an environment as similar as possible, and it should be very easy for everyone to have the latest executable. From these principles, there are some team responsibilities derived. Of course, checking in, and in case the code is broken, no other commit should be made until this is fixed. Of course, we won't commit untested code. And regarding the tests, there is a high stress on having automated tests, so we can't perform it otherwise. And these tests need to be continuously enhanced, improved. And here is a strong relation or communication between business analysts, product owners, and testers. Okay. So this would be the content about best practices, test-driven development, acceptance test-driven development, and continuous integration. The last part I kept here is about testing types and techniques to be used in the Agile. I will start firstly with a view on the sequential model, where we have a very structured context. So when we talk about waterfall, let's say, or other sequential models, we know exactly what we expect from testing. We know that we talk about functional, non-functional regression testing. There's different types of tests, but we also know the sequence of the test levels. Firstly, we have component testing, then component integration testing, system testing, system integration testing, acceptance testing with alpha and beta. So this is a very clear view, also in terms of um, structure, expectation, timeline maybe. And these notions are not lost in an agile project. We still work with them, but they can't be used as such. They can't be used out of the box, like specified in the literature up until Agile. So in the last years, there was really an interest in reshaping these notions. And specialists from the field and coaches really focused on remapping this information, or adding on so that it can serve better the agile expectations. Because in agile we will need simple, more uh, activities which are tied more to the business needs and to the values of the agile, in fact. And what I want to show you in this section is, in fact, a very recent view from Jace Bach, a specialist, a coach, an agile coach, also one of the Agile Manifesto's creators. You will find his works, and I've chose this approach to be presented today because he starts really from the core values and principles of the Agile. Even though before James Bach, maybe starting more than 10 years ago, there were other uh, authors like Brian Merrick or Lisa Crispin, who have a great contribution in reshaping the testing techniques and testing types in agile environment. There was also a very well-known book about agile testing, and it served the industry very well. Still, in the last and more recent years, James Bach saw that this need to be even more the connection to the values of the agile need to be even more transparent. And he starts his theory. So I repeat that this is really a view created by James Bach. So I will just share it with you and encourage you to search and look for it, because it's very easy to understand. So he starts firstly from defining some quadrants, 4-quadrant matrix, which has in the core of it some principles and values of agile development. So he starts from really focusing on what do you want through agile development. We want to deliver frequently. We want collaboration across roles, avoid formalization, apply heuristics or experience in improving the process. We need a sustainable pace. We need to develop and apply tools. And from these core values, there are 4 steps that are infused, let's say, with specific activities. Now, the main steps that he says, okay, you can break down the whole activities, into these tasks, main tasks. Discover something worth building, build some of it. We need to build with change in mind, and we need then to study what we build. And in order to do so, we have some facilitator, let's say. So we need to experiment, or the business needs to experiment first to discover something we're building. Then they need to develop the design, and while doing this, we can build some of the design. And we need to build some of this a product by making it cleanly and simply, because we should keep change in mind. And further on, we should focus on fostering testability in order to be able to study what we build. So there is a cyclic process activity which is supported by specific activities. I will detail them, and there will be maybe a bit of text here, but I invite you to pay attention if you see any prescription to certain techniques or certain tools in these activities. So in order to experiment and to discover something we're building, it says that we can apply or we can focus on several activities like exploring definitions of done, engaging with diverse users, specify product with rich examples. He insists very much on examples, on demonstrations, on communication. Of course, examples won't replace requirements, and it is not about replacing a description, a descriptive requirement with examples only. This won't work, but enhancing the requirements with examples. To review reports from the field, to explore design trade-offs, what this can be done at this stage to refine user stories. In the second part, the activities are focused on avoiding coding errors and regressions. So while in the first place, the activities and testing activities that can be spotted here are focused on creating a vision of the product. In the second part, we focus on avoiding coding errors, regressions. And this can be done by automating low-level checks, establishing shared coding style, performing code review, building product frequently, refactoring for maintainability, investigating and fixing the bugs as we go. We see here that several activities do map with the best practices that we discussed about test-driven development. So automating low-level checks, refactoring for maintainability, building the product frequently as a mandatory part of continuous integration. Even though James Bach is not a fan of TDD nor BDD, but still he sees these activities as essential in building the code in Agile project. The next part will focus on preparing the testing, preparing for the testing. So we will have activities that aim at preparing the test infrastructure, at making a product easy to test, on identifying and exploring product risks, on minimizing disruption when changing the product, and on testing in parallel with coding. We see again a link with the best practices like TDD, ATDD. And we need to understand here that all this focus on fostering testability is not in fact for making the life of a tester easier or for just for the sake of the testing itself, but in fact enables the whole team to make changes more rapidly. Having a fast testing process enables the developer to turn to a new functionality sooner and to start developing something new sooner. The testing should not be a blocking point. So in Agile, less than any other methodology, testing should not be a blocking point. It should go fast, and the results and the feedback should be communicated really fast. In the last part, which aims at studying what was built, is the moment when a deep testing can be made, complex cases can be created, complex data can be used. Each risk can be tested against with. So there can be corner cases that are investigated, the very complex bugs that are described. And here is a focus on this really intelligent testing, and not versus or maybe it's not the best word for this, but we have a complex testing that needs creativity of the user, very deep know-how of the product and tools if needed, versus checks that can be automated. So it's a difference between what is checking and testing. So all these activities, as you see them, and yeah, even if it's a lot of text, you won't spot anywhere a distinction between types of testing, like manual versus automated testing. You won't see prescribed techniques. Because the idea he insists on, and that I liked it very much, is that in fact in Agile project the tester has the freedom, but also the flexibility to choose its own techniques, its own tools, depending on the context and on the need. There is no need for prescribed or for recommendations that can limit or the activity. The tester will be able to pick up those techniques that best suit the purpose at a certain stage. And again, the focus in efficiency in communication, in by describing, making demos, conversations. It's not on having a very heavy suite of tests, heavily documented, and maybe not very interesting to other stakeholders. Even though these steps are presented and I discuss them in a cyclic manner, they will happen in practice. They will happen, in fact, in parallel. Will combine, will support each other. It's not only a sequential model and cycle. So it happens cyclically, but also in parallel and overlapping many times. Okay, so I let you I don't know, maybe go through this view and share with me your points. If you have questions, I will try to answer. Okay, I have already 2 questions from Sergey. Let me see. How many hours of coding developer must spend every day in Scrum? Okay, I will try to answer this, even though I'm not a developer. From the experience I have in the project, I see that there is not a prescription of hours of coding per day, but there is a capacity calculated per person. And of course, this capacity is not 100% for coding. So it's maybe 80% of the capacity allocated only for coding in a sprint. And the developer then organizes its work daily. Another question. How much time need for writing tests? Again, here Sergey asks about a percentage of the time allocated for writing tests, if it's 30% or 60%. Do we talk about test-driven development or from a tester perspective? Here, it's not very clear for me, Sergey, if you can detail your question from whose point of view are asking the question. Another question from Andrei I have here about communications. How many hours of coding per day must be spent in Scrum? Okay, I will try to answer this, even though I'm not a developer. From the experience I have in the project, I see that there is not a prescription of hours of coding per day, but there is a capacity calculated per person. And Do you think that communication skills contain the ability create some jokes for another part of the team? And second one, how can we pick up command cheer up? Because with our issue with disquiet analytics and programists, and that's why we should reestablish our relationship with them. Okay, I will answer the first question. I don't know. I'm not very funny person in general, but I can assure you that the atmosphere and how the team feels it's very important. So if someone really has this skill to I don't know, make the team enjoy, I think it's very good for them, even though yeah, it's not a purpose in itself. This is my opinion. But again, so inside an agile team, the relationship between the team members are really very important. We discuss daily. We work together, I don't know, side by side with developers, with product owners. So having very good relationship among us, it's essential for for the result and for the sustainable pace that James Bach mentioned. And regarding your second question, how can we pick up command cheer up? With our issue with disquiet analytics and programmist, and that's why we should resolve. I don't know if I understood very well your question. You mean that from a tester perspective, the relationship with the programmers may, I don't know, suffer because of different interests, if or and need to be reestablished in time. I think it's an issue of mindset. Again, I will refer to this, and you will confirm me if I understood right. I think the main point in Agile project is the mindset. So as long as the tester are really aware, and the team members also aware that in fact we don't work from different sides, but we are part of the same team, and the issues are common issues, then there won't be a need to resolve or reestablish a relationship. The relationship is built around the tasks and around the issues to be solved. The focus of the tester and of the programmers is on the task and on the issues, and the relationship is built among partners. So it's really a thing of mindset. I'm coming from years of working in sequential development models, and indeed I experienced maybe tensions or between testing seen as a police of quality and programmers who needed to defend their code. But in an agile project, this mindset needs to be changed. And Sergey confirmed that he asks about how much time is needed for writing tests when applying TDD. Sergey, honestly, I can't make a clear statement here in percentage, as you asked. But I think this can be experimented firstly. So of course, as I said, and I saw also in the team, there is a learning curve. So at the beginning, it is not easy and nor pleasant, as I've noticed, for developers to write tests. But in time, and if they have good tools, this is diminished. So the tests are a support, the test can be done alongside with another team member, and the effort is balanced in time. I can't say really a figure here, but only a description of the process that I've seen it in practice. Another question from Florin. Is it right to assume that James Bach schema applies after a product software reached a level of maturity? Florin, as I read and listened to James Bach, his schema is not addressed to mature projects, but only to agile projects. So, and agile and maybe I don't know the methodology of Scrum works very well with new projects. Another question from Ilya. What are your thoughts about motivation? Agile only works well in self-organizing teams. What to do if no one is really self-motivated? Yeah, this is a really interesting question. And I can share here my experience. I have noticed that the motivation arises when the team members are involved in taking the decisions. In Agile, and if you have a good Agile coach, so if it's a new team or a new project adopting Agile, then of course the support of a specialist is needed, of an Agile coach. And the inner motivation will arise, in fact, from having a contribution, from having an involvement in the decision making process. As long as the team decides about how to split the work, about how long should be a sprint, about the complexity of a task, about how long they need, how much time they need to implement a task. So all these decisions that they make on their own rise motivation. This is why self-organizing teams are a core aspect in an agile project. This is how they keep motivated. Another question, which development model have you experienced? Which was the best for you and why? Okay, I will tell you. I worked in a waterfall model for banking software several of years, and then I've worked in a V model for merchandise management system. Now I'm working in Agile using Scrum and Kanban. From my experience until now, I enjoy most this project. Maybe because what I've said earlier, I have maybe higher motivation arising from participating in the team decisions. But in the past, on the other projects that were very mature projects, and there was a high need mostly of maintenance in those projects. I think other techniques are also suitable. So I think depends very much on the project type. For example, there may be projects that require a lot of documentation given the business field itself. So if this is the case, or the business is structured in a certain way that requires more checks, quality gates, or a more formal proof of quality, then it may be suitable to adopt another model. Okay. How can be investigated the mysteries? how can be investigated the mysteries? If we, I think this is related with your first question, Florine. If we apply the James Bach schema maybe for a project that are not very mature, how can we investigate the mysteries? And also, how can we review reports from the field? So the mysteries can be investigated, and I like this part a lot, through exploratory testing. James Bach is really an advocate of this. Exploratory testing seen not as a monkey testing or ad hoc testing, but as a very well-defined and structured process with clear goals, with a background of business knowledge of the tester. So this is the technique that he sustained in this case. And also review reports from the field. This is about discussing with business people. So this is what he refers to. Any other questions from your side? So just let me know. Okay, I've just received a new one from Ivan. Could you describe the difference between ad hoc and exploratory testing? Yeah, I can tell you some elements that define the exploratory testing. So exploratory testing is has some particularities. It's a time-boxed technique, so it is performed in a time-boxed sessions. It has a charter with a goal, with a testing goal, with some testing steps that are performed. The outputs are presented in a structured manner. So it's an organized process. This is what I meant. It's an organized process. It's a technique. It's not, I don't know, just pushing buttons and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Another a question from Sergey about developers versus testers percentage in Scrum project. Again, I can't make a statement in general, but just strictly related to my experience. If it's very useful to you, then it's very good. I can say that maybe when we have like 20 developers, there are about 5 testers in the team. Something around this. But again, this is very flexible, and I think we need to keep this in mind, that the team structure is flexible and agile, and the team enhances based on the needs. So it's not a recipe, not at all in agile. Given that we have sprints, and after each sprint we have reviews, things are brought up to the surface, are openly discussed, and when there is a need in a certain area, the dynamic is faster in an agile project. So if a team will need additional tester, this will be really visible. If there will be a need for a technical specialist, this will be visible also. This is why the openness and the feedbacks that are coming from the team are very useful in a project. Okay, thank you also, Sergey, for your questions. Florine asked me a difficult question. What is the percentage between development and testing in my project? As I said, in the project I'm working on, there are developers that do apply TDD, ATDD, and we have also specialized testers. Each of them is focused on their activities and support each other. I I don't know. I think I need more details from your side to figure out from which perspective to answer. I mean, a tester, of course, will be engaged more on focusing on the current suite of the tests, on developing new tests, on working with the BAs to define the tests for new components, and so on. While the programmers will be focused on creating, adding on the features, adding on also unit tests, but maybe I don't know, supporting testers only when there are blocking issues. So I think we can't really calculate with the precise figures here, percentages, but because the activities are correlated always. Joanna asked me if there is any difference between an error and a mistake from the testing perspective. I think this theory is very well displayed in ISTQB, so it's not something specific to Agile. A mistake is a human, let's say, something that is missed from human perspective, while an error can be something visible in the product, a behavior, a wrong behavior in the output, in the product itself. Mm-hmm. Joanna, just let me know if you want more details from my side. Florin Kaya, time and resources. I'm trying to figure out a resource plan. Florin, if it's convenient to you, maybe we can discuss in more details about this on email. Time and resources. It's very general. We have, in terms of resources, developers, testers, business analysts, technical persons that support the activity. So yeah, maybe we need to discuss this one in more details separately. Diego asked me what is important from my point of view to write an efficient test report. Test report. A test summary, Diego. I think the most important for in test design is the oracle that, in my point of view, that we use. How we determine the expected results, the needed behavior. Okay, thank you, Joanna. A question from Catalin. If you would be able to change something into the way your Agile team currently works, what would be that? Thank you, Catalin, for this question. Let me think of this. I think what I will say now, I should bring up also into the retrospective session, to the next retrospective session. I think what I would need maybe more at this point is that big picture that I talked to you about. So not only testers need the big picture of the project and the next milestones and the expectations, or but also business analysts, and I think all the team members need to focus on this, or to keep the focus on this. So I think at this I will ask more information on this on my own too. A new question from Gennady. How do you organize activities from experiment quadrant? Pure QA stories or something else? Is it repeatable and how often if yes? Pure QA stories. Okay, so in this experiment quadrant, we started with exploring, we started with this one, exploring definition of done, engaging with diverse users, specifying product with rich example. Is this what you mean? In this case, yes, we structured them in QA stories. We use Jira for this, and each information that we have on this part is detailed in Jira. Beside this, of course, we can use information that is retrieved maybe from other sites. If it's, I don't know, some information needed about another system, or then of course you'll receive information about other components or other systems that are involved in the process from those platforms. But from strictly for our requirements, we structure in QA stories, user stories and epics. Okay, so I don't know, Gennady, just confirm if this was the quadrant that you meant, or was about testing, performing the deep testing and exploratory maybe testing. Okay, thank you too. Let me know if there are any other questions. If not, I really encourage you to search for James Bach work and yeah, have a look on his ideas. I think he's very honest in his approach, focusing on real activities, things that really help the team and the business, and not just formalizing things. Mm-hmm. A question from Dorota. Do you think that for a beginner tester, it's better to start working in an agile environment or the one working in waterfall environment? Dorota, I would say that for a beginner tester, is very important to acquire knowledge about uh, test techniques and enhance the skills. The skills can be enhanced in any type of the project. The thing is that in an agile development model, you will be more challenged on the relationship communication side. So if you currently work in a waterfall environment, there is plenty to learn in terms of test techniques, designing tests, learning automation tools. But this is really maybe a question of preference of taste, and we can't advise on clearly this is good or this is not good. There is plenty to learn from each side. But if you have the chance to work in an agile project, then beside this know-how, let's say, very focused to what to testing, you will be challenged to be a better communicator, to sustain opinions, to express even criticism or proposal for enhancements and so on. And you'll be connected, much more connected to other parts of the other stakeholders, developers, business analysts, and so on. So this is the main difference, you know. But again, there is a lot to learn in both methodologies. It's a very nice career. So um, whatever the type of your project is, just be confident and try to acquire knowledge about testing. And I think now what is helpful is also to follow on the specialists in the field, because things change very rapidly, and ideas can be obsolete. What we sustain now, then it won't be so interesting in a couple of months even. So it's very useful, I think, for beginners and as much as for experienced tester to follow up on specialists in the field and keep up to date. Dennis, what is your current agile challenge to cope up with the workload, Dennis? So we stretch the tools or the really the procedure. No, we can't call them procedures, but the flexibility of the agile really is used at maximum in currently, and in order to cope up with the workload. And yeah, it's really proves the agile really proves its benefits when the project goes very well, and there are a lot of requirements, and the customer is interested in building up on this. Then agile really proves its benefits. Pavel asks, as a junior QA, starting working on an agile project, I'm looking for best ideas on documenting test sessions, their results, and also managing documentation from other team members, including developers, design, and also notes sent by customer. Could you recommend some good practices related to the subject? Yeah, I will just share my ideas as I did up until now. Everything what is discussed with customers, especially with customers, and relates to requirements, we document it on the user story. So it is attached emails or notes directly on the user stories to keep visibility, transparency to them. Regarding the testing sessions, my preference is for not so much for documentation. I do use Fitnessy as a tool for documenting acceptance tests. But I prefer demos. So even though I build up on having a test suite for regression and for unit test for BDD, I prefer the demos, directly discussing the functionality, presenting the functionality to the business side, to the clients. Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Oksana asks me, Anna, thank you very much for interesting session. Thank you too for your feedback. And the question, how often and how the client influence on the whole process of development and testing? Which role tester takes in this communication? Thank you. Thank you to Oksana. In a very good, well-organized agile project, the client is really part of it. So he has a word to say, especially in prioritizing tasks. As for the development, here, I think, what I see is that the specialists are and should be led to decide. So the client can have a word in making the requirements, in prioritizing, and then proposal about development, tools, techniques, approaches, and testing. I expect to come from the development team, from the specialists. The role of the tester in this communication. Again, I will stress on the fact that the tester is an equal partner to all the team members. So he needs to be involved in these discussions about development, let's say design, even in and about testing even more. A good tester will come up with good questions, with good suggestions. And even if it's a beginner, he needs this information in order to perform his task better afterwards. Okay. Yeah, Florine, thank you for your question. I've listed indeed, Florine mentioned that in my presentation, testers are seen as super skilled people, and how much time is needed to check all the levels. Indeed, I added on there all the skills that a tester can make use of in an agile project. But this is built in time again. So I don't want to discourage beginner testers, not at all. It's not about that. What I want to see and to realize all that is that the tester is a career in itself. It has a path, a development path, and of course it takes time. Either the tester comes with a background, a very technical background, and he needs to learn the business aspects of the product that he's working on, or the tester comes from with a business know-how and still he needs to learn about tools, about technology. So it is indeed a process that takes time, depending on, of course, on the complexity of the project, on the tasks that are really needed in the project, and we should not expect to have all this from the beginning. Also, the Agile project is continuously changing. We may adopt some tools at a certain point in time, and then in time to realize that we need something else that fits better our needs. It's no problem. There should not be a fear to make that change, to make that decision. So it's a continuous learning process as for any other specialist. I think developers also face this challenge, business analysts the same. Mm-hmm. So it's about maybe, even years of expertise and learning. Thank you. I don't have other questions. Or Arthur. Arthur asked me how often we should engage users in product that based on the existing one. For example, application that is written on the other platform. Have you experience with those type of projects? Arthur, yes, actually, I do experience this also in the current project, and we discuss with the clients firstly right from the start, just to reformulate and to make sure about the expectations, because sometimes even though we have a requirement to build something based on an existing solution, just to rewritten. They said we need just to be rewritten. In fact, when discussing, we realized that they need additional features, or some are obsolete. and I face that, I've just maybe made a proposal for a very identical solution in terms of functionality, in order to discover afterwards that some parts were not really needed, and we descoped them. So this discussion needs to be done very early in the process. And in Agile, in fact, you have means to discuss daily. We have the daily scrums if we use Scrum, or if there is no formalization in terms of meetings and discussions, that you can initiate this discussion to clarify right from the beginning. Also afterwards, if there is um, proposal of the solution, also I really encourage you to confirm it, to confirm the solution, the proposal, the design, to confirm the acceptance tests with the customer. If we perform end-to-end testing on our project from Ivan, yes, we perform end-to-end project. It's a system integration testing process that is performed before releasing. It's a condition, it's a criteria in the definition of done to have system integration testing executed. Okay, thank you. Thank you. If you have any other points, just let me know. Otherwise, I thank you again very much for your presence, for your questions. And it was a very dynamic session and really useful for me too.